Hey, how y'all doing out there, good people? It's your brother, Educational Gilmore. And I want to talk briefly about what transpired yesterday at the planning board meeting, right? Whether you're pro this development or anti this development in its current form, everyone's entitled to their own opinions and things of that nature, right? But what strikes me is that individuals will try to act like it's about the kids in a rec center, but their records speak to the contrary of that actual statement. But before I get into that, right, a few things that's very troublesome for me. The first thing that's very troublesome for me is that individuals will essentially call in on the Zoom because they was ordered to do so, and they were given prepared statements to read. That's one thing that concerns me because it's not authentic. It's not coming from the heart. In fact, you're doing it because someone either asking you to do it or forcing you to do it. The second thing that jumped out to me is the fact that there were only 100 participants allowed to participate in the Zoom conference. This administration have been barking for the last 3, 4, maybe 5 years about how important it is for the community to come out to council meetings, school board meetings, planning board, zoning board meetings, how important it was. And here we have an instance where a multitude of people are calling in to voice their concern, and the meeting was capped at 100 for whatever reason. In fact, I've asked the planning board why I was only capped at 100, and is this normal procedure that is always capped at 100? So that to me is very troublesome. I, along with several other individuals on the call, voiced that concern, and the question was not answered. So that's very troublesome. The second thing is that individuals who got on the call and speak in favor of the development and try to use the kids' narratives as if they're really for kids in Jersey City and recreation in Jersey City. And to that point, the first person I want to talk about is the Jersey City Recreation director, Lucinda McLaughlin, who's in essence is just a straight joke, just to be honest with you. Lucinda, when she first got to the Department of Recreation, she immediately cut programs predominantly on the South Side. Programs such as basketball programs that was in 41 school, 14 school, 15 school, 38 school, and 34 school. She cut all programs in those schools. And I brought it to her attention that it was essential that we have services, namely in 15 and 41, considering all of the violence that's going on in that area. And she informed me that the principals just did not want to allow recreation in the school. And I was perplexed. So I went to the principals personally, and come to find out that she was very dishonest in relaying that statement because the principals did not say that. That was a decision that she made to cut recreation programs on the South Side. So for her to get on the call and talk about she's been a resident for 15 years and she's a director of recreation. First and foremost, you're not qualified to do the job. You only got the job because of your political connections. There's definitely a plethora of people who were more qualified than you to get that job, but they didn't get it because they didn't have the political connections, right? Secondly, Lucinda, you're the same individual who wanted to outsource programs from the recreation department to some group in, I believe it was Hoboken. You brought them in to do basketball clinics. You brought a group in to do basketball clinics when you have a coach in Tommy Best in Lincoln High School, a former professional, semi-professional player, Andrew Kemp, a basketball coach and a player, and myself, a professional player, and Mandy Johnson, who went D1, and a bunch of other individuals who was more than qualified to do recreation basketball clinics. But no, you outsourced that program to a group who you have connections with to funnel money to them. So you can miss me with this narrative that you're really concerned about kids in Jersey City and recreation, because your records speak to the contrary. Again, you shut schools down. That is the mere fact. You shut schools down. And to your credit, you did open back up 15 once I brought it to your attention, and there was about a month left for basketball. You did open 15 school up on Tuesdays and Thursdays for about 2 or 3 hours on each day. So I guess at the very least you did do that. Now, to the next person whom I want to address, who seems to be pro-recreation and wants to have a recreation STEM center in this development. Now, people, before I even address the next person, right? Make no mistake, like, we all want recreation. We all want a rec center, but there's a segment of that just believes that it has to be at a fair price. The community must not be selling itself out to get a rec center. Everybody want recreation. I've been harping and crying about recreation and rec centers last 5 or 6 years, right? So the next person I want to address is one Councilman Jermaine Robinson. Jermaine, you just voted to defund recreation by 42%. And here it is, you're saying that you're invested in creating activities for kids via a rec center, and you just cut the budget of a disrespectful budget that was passed in the first place. The rec department is already underfunded. And you just voted. You voted yes to cut the funds for the rec department. And again, no one have showed a sound financial assessment on how this thing need to be funded. Some people got on a call yesterday, and again, a lot of prepared statements. It's really, that's neither here nor there, but there's no sound plan to fund this institution. People got on and said, well, once the rec center get built, we'll figure it out. That's not how finances work. That's not how you run an entity. That's not how you run a business. I didn't say, oh, I'm going to go and acquire a building. I'm not going to worry about how I'm going to cover overhead, how I'm going to maintenance the equipment, how I'm going to get the equipment in. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. You have to have finances. You have to have your financial situation in order. So again, councilman, to my next point, I just said that Lucinda McLaughlin cut recreation activities, namely in your ward, in schools. 12 school was no longer recreation when she got there. 15 and 41. And no, they had it in 14. So 15, 41, and I think 12 and 17 school. And I brought that to your attention. And you did nothing about it. The councilman whom is pro-recreation, you did nothing about it. So you can stop with this narrative that you're trying to do something for the kids. Because there are several instances in which we've seen kids lose their life, and not once have you did a press conference, held a press conference, said, despised, or condoned any of the violence that's going on in our community. But yet and still you run around behind, you know what, that's a whole nother story. Listen, the facts are what they are, people. The facts are what they are. And again, you can be for or against this project. It is entirely up to you. I'm not trying to sway you either way. But what I'm not going to allow, right, is for people who act like they're for the betterment of the community and for the investment of the kids and in the rec center, and then your records speak to the contrary. Your records speak to the contrary. So the next time you want to say that you're pro-recreation and you want something for the kids to do, Jermaine Robinson, make sure that there are recreation programs in your ward in those schools. Lucinda McLaughlin, the Department of Recreation director, make sure that those programs are available for kids to go. In fact, Lucinda, to my last point, you didn't even get the kids championship jackets that won the championships league for the recreation kids, for the Jersey City Jets. You did nothing. Every year those kids won. Those kids had jackets. Whether Arthur Williams was there, whether Ryan Scrubber was there, whether Kevin Williamson was there. Every year those kids won. Those kids got jackets. And when you came, the first thing you did was cut programs and move people. You moved people that were very instrumental in the development of kids on the South Side. You move those people out of recreation. But yet and still, you will paint a narrative as if you're really for recreation. Please, Lucinda McLaughlin, Jermaine Robinson, do not use my kids in vain to try to get something passed that you want passed. Because your record does not reflect what you said last night. On that note, your brother Educational Gilmore, and I'm gone. Be great on purpose, people.